Hello Jags, Fahad here. Here's a question for you. Many years ago, broadband killed dial-up. Do you think in the future 5G will kill broadband? Now we'll get to that question in just a moment. I would like to read something from the earnings conference call transcript of Crown Castle, symbol CCI. Here's a comment that comes from the CEO. It says, "What I find really intriguing about 5G and some of the emergent technologies is that they have the potential to fundamentally alter the role of wireless networks, going from connecting over 300 million people in the US to potentially connecting billions of devices in the future. To meet these requirements at the speeds and latency that will be necessary, industry estimates predict that carriers will need to achieve a 10-fold increase in network performance as measured by latency, reliability, and speed." And then it goes on to say exactly how the company plans to fulfill that request through its small cells. A very bullish view from Crown Castle CEO talking about the future of 5G. It's a very lengthy thing. I just wanted to read just the excerpt. We've already talked plenty of times about CCI. It was one of the bull cases that I presented a few quarters ago in the Jaguar Quarterly Outlook, and currently we have an open position in call options in CCI. What I would like to do is I would like to add another stock on that list. Company is called Enersys, symbol ENS. ENS is also a beneficiary of 5G build-out. It is going to be beneficiary from rising capital environment, rising capital commitments, and CapEx overall spending environment from large telecommunication companies. Now, I believe that 5G is going to be a game changer in many ways. I believe there's a whole set of new technologies that want to come to the market, but they require incredibly fast connectivity and low latency. The infrastructure for that is 5G. Hence why 5G is at the center for a lot of these technologies. That includes virtual reality, augmented reality, connected cars, millions and billions of IoT, Internet on Things, devices connected to each other, seamless communication, and so on. So in the center of all of this is 5G development. Here's a nice comparison between the 4G and the 5G and as the way we are transitioning right now. The most important, as a consumer, the most important thing that matters on this table is the latency and the peak data. The 4G latency is 10 millisecond. The latency in the 5G is only 1 millisecond. So that's a 90% reduction. The peak data rate, if you use 4G and if you happen to find really good signal at a certain spot, the best you can ever get is about 1 gigabyte per second for download, for example. With the 5G, you'll be able to get 20 gigabyte per second. Now, the US 5G mobile market is still in infancy. Here's a chart that comes from Oppenheimer Research, which was presented last year in June 2018. We're at the cusp of a massive accelerating growth cycle in 5G network. Ultimately, within the next 5 years or 4 years, you're going to see about half of the country will have essentially adopted 5G network. 2019 is going to be about 300,000. Then it will increase by 10 folds, going to 3 million people by 2020, and then it will only just accelerate from here. The key reason is that the cell phone market is still making advancement in this progress. Currently, there is no name brand phone that is 5G built phone that's in the market currently. iPhone 5G has not even been announced yet. Just today, Samsung was the first company that announced a major foldable 5G phone, and that's still going to take several months to come out. However, the CapEx environment, the networks are already building. They're not waiting. Now, you can see right over here, this picture also comes from Oppenheimer. This was towards the end of 2018. a lot of the top 4 carrier service providers in the US have already started to roll out in the 5G markets. AT&T planning to roll out to 12 markets, Verizon 4, T-Mobile 30, Sprint 6, and then the timeline is further provided over here. For example, how Verizon says announced second city to receive initial 5G rollout by the end of 2018. The first one was Sacramento and the second one was Los Angeles. And the same way, everybody is using different spectrum brand in order to basically start rolling out. A picture looking at the model and the projections, I just wanted to show a trend over here. This is from 2012 all the way to estimated 2020 for Enersys. And you will notice that for every year from 2012 all the way to 2018, the growth rate, or about 2017, the growth rate, the top line revenues were about $2.2 billion to about $2.4 billion. For 5 years, the company had essentially zero growth. You know, it was a flattish stock with no top line growth. And a little bit of the EPS growth that they had during those 5 years was all because of share buyback programs that they were in place. Now this growth is about to take off, in my opinion. Remember, they did a major acquisition of Alpha also last year, so that's also providing the kicker. You will notice over here, after 5 years of no growth, the 2018 revenues are jumped by 9.2% year over year. For 2019, they're expected to jump by 10% and then accelerate again in 2020, which is going to be the peak year of sharply accelerating growth rate, up by 19% year over year. The EPS line, which has been flat around $4.50 for several years, is about to jump to $5.09 in 2019, rising to $6.44 in 2020, representing about 24%, 25% bottom line EPS growth. So when you estimate it based on the price to earnings ratio, the stock is trading at fiscal year 2020 EPS estimate of about 11 times earnings, fairly cheap, at a time when it's going to have somewhere between 20 to 25% bottom line growth, and the top line would be growing somewhere between in high teens, 15 to 20% year over year. I believe that makes a fairly strong case fundamental side for a company that is going to be at the cusp of a major telecommunications spending cycle for 5G build out. Now, if you look at the last quarter, you're going to notice on the charts too that Enersys, that recently reported earnings about 2 weeks ago, the stock collapsed sharply. It came down from 52-week high of $90 per share all the way smack down to $70 per share. Many analysts parsed that data, but the most important thing that stands out for me was various one-off items. Particularly, the management commented, as explained over here, that a lot of transitioning is taking place in telecommunications right now as they're freeing up the free cash flow by completing prior projects of 4G deployment in order to get ready to make increasing purchases of the 5G deployment. And this may have caused a little bit temporary slowdown in the 4G cycle, while the 5G is still not ready yet to basically ramp higher at the speed. Hence, a little bit of a gap there that caused slight deterioration in the top line revenue growth that came in a little bit below expectation. Also, higher freight costs, a little bit unusual because of some runoff items. As a result, the overall report card that came out 2 weeks ago didn't look as attractive, and the stock basically got smacked down hard. I believe that sell-off is presenting a buying opportunity. Here's the chart. On the weekly scale, you can see for 2 years, it came down hard sharply from $90 to $70 per share. It's right at the trend support, more or less. I believe low 70s present a pretty fairly attractive buying opportunity, and I believe gradually the stock will work itself higher back to new 52-week high and above $90 per share. Another slide that comes from the management presentation by Enersys is this one that catches my attention. The two particular catalysts that are coming up soon that I could recharge the bulls essentially. The first one is going to be a major presentation that they're going to give in April in a conference in Chicago called US Pro Match Show. In this case, the company has already mentioned that they're going to be making new launches, and they're going to be announcing what they call maintenance-free power lithium modular product launch. This is a significant one because they are targeting this for certain key customers as well as for Latin America and Chinese and the European markets where technology is slightly different. I believe this could re-energize the base. Also, the company, when they reported earnings 2 weeks ago, they did not provide their fiscal year 2019 guidance. They held that back intentionally, but they said that mid-year sometime they'll be holding an analyst day, and that's when they will provide their full year guidance. That could serve as another catalyst. So one catalyst in April, second catalyst sometime in the middle of the year. Going back to the question that I asked in the beginning, broadband killed dial-up. Will 5G kill broadband? Now, with that background in place, I'd like to read something for you from a comment that comes from the key Oppenheimer analyst, Timothy Horan, that presented this back in June of 2018. Take a look at this. We believe that wireless can begin to cannibalize wireline data and video, which cable companies dominate. Few analysts currently believe this. It seems just as few had believed that wireless voice could cannibalize wireline 20 years ago. Goes on to say, if we are correct and we migrate to one integrated network with wireless connections, the concept of fixed and mobile will essentially disappear. A significant point over here that the analyst is making. Also says, this low latency network combined with fog compute will lead to new unpredictable organic services around the areas of Internet of Things, self-driving cars, etc. Previously, this analyst was expecting a 10 times increase in wireless usage for data, and now they're expecting a 20 times increase. Here's the point that the analyst is trying to make. You have broadband at home. Everybody gets high-speed internet at home these days. I did a simple test. Here's my test. I went ahead before this presentation. I used Xfinity Comcast, and I did a simple test of my download speed before making this presentation, and I found out the download speed is about 335 megabytes per second. My upload speed is about 24 megabytes per second. 335 megabytes per second, right? The 5G network, which is going to come from telecom services such as Verizon or whatnot, is 20 gigabytes per second. So my question is, let's suppose you have a smart TV at home that is connected to your broadband connection and you're basically watching Netflix or whatever show. Do you really need that anymore? If you're able to get your telecommunication service provider to provide a speed that is 20 gigabytes per second at a cost of, let's say, $50 or $40 per month, far, far cheaper for consumers than what they pay for broadband today. Broadband killed dial-up. Could 5G kill broadband? That's the main question. I think so too. So I'm not the only one that sees it this way. Back in October 5th, here's an article that was posted on a site called AR Technica, in which they actually showed a picture of what Verizon is trying to do over here. Hate your Comcast broadband? Verizon might sell you 5G home internet at 20 gigabytes per second for a very low fee. And all it is just a simple box that basically stays at your home and gives you connection to everything that you want. Here's the bottom line on all of this. I do believe that 5G will badly disrupt broadband, and it will save consumers a lot of money. Also, most importantly, it will become the key barometer for developing applications of the future, such as connected cars, virtual reality, augmented reality, Internet of Things, robotics, industrial automation. I can just go on and on. Most importantly, these technologies are already conceptualized in so many ways these days, but they need a fast connectivity and low latency platform that allows them to develop on mobile devices, your cell phones, your tablets or whatnot. 5G is the key route for them to make those technologies available. That's why it will be quite successful, and that's why it could be a killer for broadband. So the areas where you want to focus from an investment standpoint, you could potentially just go to Verizon, just the telecom service providers, Verizon, AT&T, and so on. Or you could go to the companies that are going to be the biggest beneficiaries of the rising capex environment from all of these telecom service providers. Our favorite remains Crown Castle. We already have a position in this, but I believe Enersys, with the sell-off after recently reported earnings is also presenting a buying opportunity. I should also throw a couple other names into this mix. Ciena has been acting very strong, the networking company, and they've been talking a lot about 5G. I think they will continue to benefit from this. VIAV Solutions, symbol VIAV, they have been benefiting from this trend as well. And going forward, we're going to see more and more companies emerge in our list, in our research, that are going to be beneficiaries as well. And as they do, we'll cover them in the chat room and bring it to our clients. That's it from me. Thank you very much. See you next time.